Welcome back to another episode of Friends from Work, a podcast about all things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a podcast hosted by myself, Kyle Sconawill, and my longtime friend from work, Robbie Earl. Welcome to Season 7 officially. This is our first new content in the MCU in 2026. It's exciting times. Robbie, how are you? Are you excited?
I am excited, even though I sound like I'm speaking to you through the walls of a coffin.
Over the years, you've had different ways to reference that you're sick. I've never heard that one. Usually it's like from the grave or something like that. My deathbed.
I should have known. I'm not even mad about it. Like a couple of years ago, I specifically remember us tracking the Loki season 2 finale, and I was like so sick. But I was so pumped about that finale that like the adrenaline just carried me all the way through, and then I like collapsed at the finish line. But that year I was so mad because it was the year I had my surgeries, and I think my immune system was just shot because I was sick like all the time. And I can't be mad now because I haven't actually been sick in like a year. And it has been a very intense couple of weeks. So I'm like,
it's almost like when you don't ever sleep, it kind of flirts with your body maybe getting sick. I'm
it's
no medical
so
professional.
Crazy you say that. Candace was saying the same thing earlier. Y'all must have been.
Neither of us are medical professionals. No, from what I understand, sleep is important. So.
I mean, I think there are two sides to every issue, but
yeah. It's debatable.
But
in today's day and age, anything's debatable.
Right,
sleep might not be that important, you know.
I could easily come up with a photo that would somehow show you why sleep does not matter at all.
Yeah, right. Look at this famous person. He only slept 1 hour a night. And three naps.
1 hour ever.
I've seen this video on YouTube. This guy's like, look, you're counting time all wrong, right? So you're operating 24 hours. Well, my days are 60 hours. So by the time I wake up, I've already had 3 days. And then if you've seen this, it's unbelievable. No. He's like, and then it's like by noon, I'm on day 3. And you're just kind of getting your day started. That's how I'm able to be so much more productive. I'll send the video to people who want to know. And their interviewer's like, what? It's so confused.
We were having like, I was up at the office one of those like late nights, and I was talking with my paralegal, and he was like, man, like you've got to go get some sleep before tomorrow. And I was like, I mean, you know, Einstein slept like 30 minutes a day. And he was like, really? And I was like, actually, I don't know. My source for that is Iron Man 3.
I was going to say, doesn't Tony Stark say that?
Fact checked. Yeah. I have not fact checked Shane Black and or like sleep deprived manic Tony Stark. But that's
funny.
Like,
that's a good poll.
Well,
speaking of Iron Man 3, by the way, what a great poll and good transition.
Yeah, that is I've had Iron Man 3 on the mind this morning, actually, as I was kind of reflecting on these 4 episodes for a few reasons. But
I interrupted
it is
you.
funny.
Sorry.
Like,
Yeah. Keep going.
Well, like Candace's mom, she's one of these people that has spent so much time, like since she was little till now, like every morning spends a lot of time reading scripture. And so as a result of that, she, like in any given situation, it's like there's something that she kind of pulls because it's just like her baseline, like the thing that like informs.
I think I know where this is going. Are you going to say that's you for the MCU?
It's just funny how like that for me, for better or worse, has become the MCU, where like someone
3.
says something and I'm like, Iron Man 3, like scene 4, line of dialogue 7.
I panicked,
tells us,
but then I handled it. That's funny. It's sad and funny, I think, at the same time.
I'll take it, you know.
Okay, today's episode, our coverage of Wonder Man is brought to you by our friends at Panelbound Comics. Right now, if you go to panelboundcomics.com and use our promo code FriendsFromWork, you're going to save some money, and it supports us and it supports them. You're going to love the comics over there. If you're looking to buy some new books, check out panelboundcomics.com. We have tons of coverage on comic stuff all over the place that you can check out. So panelboundcomics.com. Robbie, this is really interesting. Today is one of those really unique days where you and I are actually behind the listeners. because as they are listening to this right now, they've probably watched all 8. They probably binged all 8 episodes, and then they're listening to this. But put yourself in my shoes for a second. Robbie and I have only seen episodes 1 through 4. And so I think that changes the tone of the discussion. Next week, we'll do a podcast episode on episodes 5 through 8. But honestly, I want to get this out of the way first. I kind of hate that we stopped where we stopped. And here's why. I loved the show. I felt like episode 4 had a little bit of that goofy tone that I don't love when they dip into. I felt like the humor was very elevated in episodes 1 through 3, but then a little bit of like the how they handled like the going through doorman and like the sick stomach and stuff. Like I kind of almost wish they had taken a more traumatic story. Like the traumatic story was that he swallowed Josh Gad, and it was funny, and like all that stuff was funny, but it had a little bit of that owl in the tree Hawkeye goofy tone, which is such a weird place. Again, I think if you're just binging it, you just go to the next episode. It's a flashback episode. You don't think anything of it, but that was the lasting thought for me, and I loved this show, and it's getting rave reviews already. So I just feel like that's a weird place for me to stop. So I'm gonna say 2 negative things to start, and then it's all positive for me.
Love it.
Is that fair? That's a little bit of a goofier episode, kind of.
I didn't have a. I felt that. I think ending it there felt a little weird too, just in that episode 3 ends with you kind of knowing now that they're about to enter into the Wonder Man project on some level. And then we kind of take a break from that.
If we had known, that'd have been a perfect stop. In the car, on the top of the hill, episode 3.
Which had such like La La Land vibes, by the way, that whole scene 100%. At the top of the hill.
Maybe the same location, honestly.
I know. I was wondering that. But yeah, I think I see what you're saying. A little bit of like the parts of Agatha that I didn't like as much. Which is to say, stuff that has never prevented a project from being critically well received necessarily, but is not necessarily my thing. What's funny there too is
just a little bit for me, by the way, because I like when Josh Gad showed up, I thought it was pretty cool. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he's gonna be there, and it was funny in general, but. And I'm with you. Just not totally my tone of humor. Honestly, the first 3 episodes, that was my tone.
Yeah.
So
well, and they're also not super funny like the first 3. Like, so I think that's one of the weird things too.
But subtle when it works. I think there was a couple times I chuckled.
It's kind of more of what we talk about with like the Marcus McFeely humor, where it's a little less goofy, a little less like slapstick. Whereas that was very slapstick. But I kind of get why, because they were trying to, instead of it just being, this is the story of why superheroes or people with powers can't be in Hollywood productions. They wanted to also, I think, have a look at the 15 minutes of fame thing and how that kind of chews people up and spits them out. And
I'm guessing that that's a fairly accurate representation of a character from the comics. I'm guessing that's kind of what Doorman would look like.
I can
see how drawn it would make sense, right? You like draw a guy and then half the body going through it or whatever.
Yeah,
but
no, I mean I thought it was clever, and I did like I liked the Josh Gad stuff, and I liked all like the jokes that did work for me were the like. Radioactive by Imagine Dragons was like the most important song of the last 3 years.
I thought of you because I know you're a little bit of a hater.
It's also funny because you mentioned Hawkeye. This is the second time that Marvel's taken shots at Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, what the heck is Kevin does not enjoy it. Or Brad maybe. Okay, my only other thing
Dragons.
on the other front is I'm wondering a little bit about Damage Control. Damage Control is kind of turning into a little bit of a joke organization to me, just a little bit. Like I don't fully buy their motivation that one guy is so aggressive and having to catch Wonder Man that he's going to hire Trevor to like coerce him. I don't know. Like it feels like, and then like, and Trevor's going to jail otherwise. I don't know. I think between that and like Damage Control showing up in Miss Marvel, like Damage Control is kind of becoming like the C-list villain where they're showing up only to the younger kids or people that don't know their powers yet. And I didn't feel as much in Spider-Man. I felt like when it was set up, or like the first Spider-Man when they're cleaning up, it's like, oh, this is a real department. Now I'm just starting to buy their motivations and or not buy their motivations. I don't know. I loved the show. Those are my two critiques. I thought episode 4 ended with a little bit of a goofy tone, and I'm just not sure it's enough motivation for me that Damage Control just wants to get supers out of the way so aggressively.
Yeah, I think
and they kind of suck as an organization. Like they never do it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right where you're drawing the line, because I think you could have Miss Marvel or Wonder Man as the follow-ups to what we saw in No Way Home. I think both of them, at least as of now, and it may be different by the end of the series, but as of now, it seems like neither one of them is moving it forward in a satisfying way. And yeah, they both just look like the kind of like bumbling classic like bureaucracy thing where they're just kind of there to throw a wrench in things and to move the general plot forward.
It's almost like I need a win for Damage Control for me to believe that they're actually doing stuff.
Well, and I think what I also liked that, like, I just don't know that Miss Marvel did a good enough job of laying the foundation here, which is another reason why they could have made Damage Control the actual main villain of that series, like we've talked about.
Yeah, sure.
And we could,
and then you'd have more development by the time we get here.
Yeah, because I think what's strange is like you look at just the Spider-Man trilogy, and Homecoming does such a great job of showing why Damage Control exists. It exists to solve the like Kirk problem, of like who's cleaning all this stuff up, and then you see that Tony Stark is funding it, and that kind of makes sense.
The what?
And then
problem?
You see how the property damage.
You said Kirk problem. The property damage problem. Who's cleaning it up? That took me so long to get there. I'm so sorry. I didn't know if that was like some law that I had never heard of. I was like, did I hear
Murphy's
that right?
Law, but the Kirk problem.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I guess. For those who don't know, that's a deep cut reference to this podcast. My friend Kirk doesn't love all the property damage that happens in Marvel movies.
We brought that up like season 1.
I'll bring this back too. For Steve Rogers, remember when you have to explain something? Kirk is a guy who doesn't like the property damage for Steve Rogers. Anyways.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry. That's so funny.
And then in No Way Home, I feel like they did a good job of showing why they would get involved after the Mysterio incident. It wasn't, we have to hunt down Spider-Man because he is like an unregistered super person. It was, there was this massive like citywide catastrophe that resulted in like this person dying, and also now all the Stark stuff is kind of out there, and like you see how that falls within the purview of Damage Control in the same way that like cleaning up after the Battle of New York would. So like that all shows to me that they're performing the same function, that they're more like, they are more Damage Control literally than they are like law enforcement. But like I feel like once we get to Miss Marvel, it takes this turn where now they're just like super person Gestapo. And
in this show, he has like a quota almost.
Yeah, well, and it's complicated too by like in Miss Marvel, they kind of make that one agent like super like racist. And so it's like they're muddying the waters too, where like what's their action?
I don't.
Well, just because the fact, like the way she's dealing with everyone of like Pakistani descent, and is like
the lady I know you're talking about. Okay,
generally bigoted maybe is a better term, but like
sure.
They're clearly, that is not something that I'm reading into it. That's clearly like part of her story, and
you're
so
woke,
it's
man.
like
you're too woke.
I'm too woke. But no, my point is, I wish we're just getting introduced to this agency. So now I have no idea what their motivations are. Like, are they just out there because like they're generally hostile towards like everybody? Or is it like that they really are concerned about like I think here at least like the positive for me out of the negative, because I agree with you, is I do like that we have a clip of that like everyone has a quota scene, because it at least shows like this is how this agency is functioning. Even if it doesn't make sense that it's functioning that way, we at least see that like this is what's going on. They're not just responding to things like in a vacuum. They are now motivated to go out and find superpowered people to flag and track.
You're right, but I do miss the original Homecoming damage control. Like we're cleaning up stuff. I like that more. As
it just makes more sense.
Yeah.
Especially because we already did the Sokovia Accords. So it just feels like something where it's like, okay, we know that those have been repealed.
Right. And the super people saved everybody in Endgame.
Yeah.
So you feel like, I thought kind of culturally within the MCU, we were okay with it now. Right?
Yeah.
A little bit like, okay, they were the heroes. Why are we hunting them down like this?
And like if you're going to do something there, again, this is what I think people have talked about with the connectivity that I think that Infinity Saga did so well. It's not like it's little things you could do, right? Like it doesn't take a ton, but there's a through line that you could make between like Secret Invasion and the end of Secret Invasion and the kind of turn against the like aliens, and mix that with like the kind of anti-vigilante Daredevil Born Again stuff from Kingpin. And you can kind of draw a line, and then you could see how there's maybe this shift in public opinion, but that work isn't really being done. So it's left to us to do with some like creative rewatch sorting, which I'm happy to do. But I do think like there are ways where if they would just show why like this thing does matter and lead to this, but instead it just kind of feels like they're like, to your point, they need someone to perform a certain role, and damage control is just the easy like filler. Like we can just plop them in there. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Marvel Spotlight banner and how I loved it.
Yep.
I didn't know this was going to be a Marvel Spotlight before it started. This is the totally right call. It really does help set up. You see the spotlight and automatically your brain starts thinking, okay, it's in the MCU, but it's a fun look at something that we're shining a light on over here. And this is not going to be a show that carries the Secret Wars weight or that pressure. And so it will be connected in that. I love that it still allows us to have all kinds of references, not only to the MCU, but also to the real world, like Earth 616, with things like Josh Gad or the guy from The Matrix, his actual name. That's the actual actor. He looked it up. Like, that's pretty cool to me. And they're quoting movies that are real movies in 616. And on top of that, adding in the superhero side. So making a reference to a superhero or an MCU thing while also making references to real world movies, etc. So I love that it allows it to do that, but you, because of the Spotlight banner, don't have to go, oh, but is Doctor Doom coming? Or is there going to be a hint at an incursion here? Like, no, this is a show that's a look at what it's like to be a struggling actor in Hollywood. That's what the show is. I don't think I even knew how much the show was going to be that. Now, granted, I'm only 4 episodes in. Now, maybe it really connects at the end, but I do love the Marvel Spotlight banner for that.
No, I totally agree. And that was like one of my first takeaways. What I told you, I think that people would have felt a little bit differently about the onslaught of content circa 2022 if this had been in place from the get-go. Like if, and by the way,
I've made that argument before that there are lots of things that I think just a branding thing would have changed. We've said before, if Secret Invasion was called Nick Fury's Return or the Battle of Nick Fury, I think people would have liked it so much more. That it was just a Marvel Spotlight chapter on Nick Fury, not thinking it's a huge, epic event from a comic run. And then yes, same thing. Like how many other projects could you have just said Spotlight? Here's a little look.
In my rewatch right now, I'm in the middle of Moon Knight, and that is just such a perfect example of of a show like that
It's a
where
spotlight.
like, yeah, like I think that is the least connected of any MCU project. Like there is just no,
There's
like, I'm
almost
sure that there
zero
are like
references.
Easter eggs,
Yeah,
but like I can't even remember a line.
You
So,
almost wonder if the special presentations could also just be called spotlights, even though it's
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, those are characters you know, but because
Yeah.
it's such a look at this little like Christmas thing, you could just say that's like a spotlight. And same with like Werewolf by Night, 45 minutes, a different thing.
And you just give people permission to watch or not watch, and that way, like the people that are casual fans
Totally
but
agree.
want to keep up with the, it's because otherwise it just got overwhelming. But this
Totally
is such a great
part of the flaw of Moon Knight is that people now are going, why haven't we seen him again? Where's Moon Knight?
right.
You're right. If you had just removed that altogether, it's a really great story.
Yeah, I think this is like, and you and I praised them, I think, for the way that they reorganized this, whenever this happened a year ago or so, in terms of like the Marvel Studios stuff, proper, the animation, and then the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I don't know what else we have.
They call it
Coming,
Marvel
that's a spotlight, huh?
Television or Marvel Studios, but that's the same like
Yeah.
main Sacred Timeline MCU stuff. You know what's
Is-
funny, Robbie, is at first when we saw Spotlight with Echo was a spotlight. I think back then the narrative was because they hadn't spotlighted Moon Knight and shows like that earlier, and they didn't call the special presentation spotlight. When Echo came out, it was kind of a newer thing, I think. It might not have been the first
Yeah.
one, but it was like we were not
Yeah.
trained to think this was a thing. And
I think it was the first one. Maybe the only
I
other
feel
one.
like the thought at the time was almost disappointment in that, this is like they know it can't carry the weight of a week-to-week conversation. And so it was almost
Yeah.
like framed from a negative, like, they're just trying to dump them all at once. And that's almost what Ironheart was too for a second. They can't carry the week. And now I feel like it's almost become a positive, like a show like Wonder Man almost makes it a relief or positive that we've
Yeah.
gone from that of going, it can't command the weekly conversation to, no, this is just not the format this show needs. Like we almost don't want it to command the weekly conversation. We're not trying to put this show in the same bucket as WandaVision. We're not trying
Right.
to say they're the same thing. This is a side story spotlight thing. And now it's almost a positive to me in that I
Yeah.
can go, I see what they're doing, why they're dropping them all. I mean, it has 96% on Rotten Tomatoes as we sit here today.
Yeah.
So other people are agreeing, like once you have it framed right, it can really work that way.
And I think if they're able to essentially use that as like a not only a sign that it's not going to connect heavily to the main line plot, but also that it's kind of got some prestige around it, which I think Wonder Man could be the start of. I mean, like Echo actually was pretty well received, all things considered. So it's not as though Echo like tarnished that at the end of the day. But I do think like I think this is the series that it could be setting a template. What I'm curious about though, I'm looking ahead at the shows that we know are coming and knowing that things can always shift around. Like Vision Quest is obviously going to be a conclusion to a story that started with WandaVision, which was like the premier kind of like crown jewel of the Marvel TV catalog, that and Loki. So like that obviously won't be a spotlight series, but I do wonder moving forward, now that they have kind of taken this approach of scaling back, we're getting less movies, we're getting a lot more like intentional pushes towards certain storylines. Like once we have Daredevil Born Again behind us, once we have like Vision Quest, I'm curious what the ratio is going to be between a spotlight series from Marvel and not. And
I
whether
personally could use one every year, I think.
yeah.
I wouldn't hate that. Circling certain
Like-
things and being like, that's a all drop at once thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I almost wonder if the rhythm could be one spotlight show, one like ongoing series, like Daredevil Born Again season 3,
Mhm.
and then one new show.
Yeah. I mean, well, because honestly, and I won't, I won't take us down this tangent, but like even Daredevil so far has not really connected to the MCU any more than this show has or than Echo did. Like in that,
Yeah, other than we've seen Matthew Murdock in the MCU, like in Spider-Man No Way Home and in Echo. So we've seen him kind of be pulled out in that
Yeah.
way, like we recognize him. Although, but to be fair, then I guess the exact same argument works for Trevor Slattery, because we've seen him in other
Right.
MCU things too.
and
He's here.
and
So you're
Maya
right.
and Fisk, are in
Yeah, in
Hawkeye,
Hawkeye.
and then in so I
Yeah, so
I
the
do
show
wonder,
itself doesn't have. Yeah, there was one shout out to a guy who shoots webs. Remember?
yeah,
That's
like
about it, though.
I wonder if we're I wonder, and this is my last thought on this because I don't want us to get derailed. But I just wonder if we ever have a Loki again, like a show that is so fundamental to the ongoing narrative that like it is essentially like WandaVision too. I think both of
You
those
have to have watched him.
right. Like you can't. Those are those are more important. I think to where we are currently in the multiverse saga
Than
than
some
most
films
of the
even.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know if we'll
mean,
get
Brad
that again, and I don't know if we
Winterbaum's-
should.
I personally, as a fan, we've talked about this again, not to go down the rabbit hole, but like, because I'm a huge fan, I like it. I'm going to watch everything anyways. So I love
Yeah.
when the shows have that amount of impact. And those are the two best shows, I think, in my opinion, WandaVision and
yeah.
Loki. But, Brad Winterbaum basically, 6 months ago, confirmed that that's not what they're doing. They're kind of changing it to what this model is, which is
Yeah.
those kind of shows won't exist. I do think they'll probably make an exception here or there, right? There will be a
Sure.
year, like, I don't know what's happening right now in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. As of now, there's no films. Is it possible there's a really important show in the middle of there? Or
Yeah.
something like that, maybe. And then we have no idea what it looks like after Secret Wars, so. But it's a great point. They have fundamentally
Yeah.
changed somewhere in there. Well, and Falcon Winter Soldier was tied in and important
Yeah.
to what they were trying to do, but somewhere in there they decided this is too much work. So calling these spotlights and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 pages of notes, four separate episodes. I can go real quick. I'll start with a big point after a quick word from these sponsors. Before I go through any tiny nitty-gritty notes, I just want to say that the sincerity, the charm, and the charisma from the 2 leads is what makes this show so fun to me. I guess
Yeah.
2 things. Let me say, I've loved that it's just a look at a struggling actor in Hollywood. Like I said earlier, I didn't see that coming per se. It's been a lot less about superpowers and superheroes through 4 episodes, even though they're referenced, and obviously we've seen Simon's stuff.
Yeah.
But actually just taking a behind the scenes look at that. And then I really love how they've handled the interactions between the 2. I think they're both killing it as actors. I'm totally
Yeah.
engaged into what they're doing. And like when Simon actually goes into the more free-spirited audition, I actually bought it. I was like, that is because this is
Yeah.
important. In a show where you're talking about acting, it's important that the actors actually know how to give a really good performance when asked to, right? You got to separate when are they, think about it, they're acting the whole time, but you got to separate when
Right.
are they kind of bad acting or
Yeah.
being themselves versus then now they're really acting. And I thought they
Yeah.
did that really well. And I also just really appreciate so far how they've handled Trevor. They've made references to his past, but they're really doubling down on the reason he's different is because he's gotten sober. And there's moments of sincere, like this is a show that so easily could have been goofy or cynical in kind of
Yeah.
how it is, but they're both so sincere. When Trevor comes back in and corrects the Matrix actor, no, this is a calling. It's
Yeah.
no longer gone from he's just the butt of the joke. Like in Shang-Chi, he's hilarious, but you're a little
Yeah.
bit like, oh, he's just a really like coked out.
Kooky.
kooky
Yeah.
ex-actor who is lost himself. So for him
Yeah.
to like know movie references and play references and be quoting that and to actually be giving Simon some pieces of advice and how he's hired to start by like sabotaging Simon, and instead he's connecting so much with him as a friend that he's finding himself not able to do, like hence like throwing the microphone away, not able to do, even though it might mean he's going to jail, but he's actually giving Simon sincere working acting advice is really cool. And when they try to get the audition, it's like a whole episode built on a ridiculous premise. They can't get this audition filmed for all these different reasons, but it's cool in how much Trevor wants, like Trevor sees the actor in him and wants that part to be fulfilled, even if it's at his own detriment. I just feel like their acting and their charisma and charm and the sincerity is what's driving this whole thing being a huge win to me.
I totally agree. I don't have a ton of notes from this, but my second one after the perfect use of Spotlight, which means I'm just tracking yours almost exactly.
We have not talked.
The excellent lead performances. Yeah. I loved that for a few reasons. Like one, I think I was not surprised because both of these actors, every time I've seen them show up in things, Ben Kingsley is just a legend.
He's a legend,
obviously.
Sir,
I don't know.
Ben Kingsley.
True.
He's been knighted.
Did you ever see Watchmen, the show?
Nope.
Okay.
I think of him from Shutter Island, which we actually covered on this podcast.
Right. That was fun. No, I'm thinking Yahya Abdul-Mateen. The second is he was a main character in Watchmen.
Okay. No, I didn't recognize him. Yeah, I haven't seen his films.
He's great though. Like I think
he is great.
He is adding so much texture and depth to a character that I think it's one of those things where the character's well written enough. Like I don't have any complaints with the writing, but I think he is bringing a lot to it in his delivery that I think an actor that is doing less with that could make the character kind of boring to me almost. Like I think the way he's doing it, there's this like quiet intensity behind everything. And I think that mixed with the energy that Ben Kingsley's bringing to Trevor in this specifically it's such a great combination. And I love, that I love that they are, I think, reconciling a bit, like to your point, the Trevor of Iron Man 3 and the Trevor of Shang-Chi. Like I think my fear whenever I saw this was like, okay, Destin Daniel Cretton, he brought Trevor into Shang-Chi. I thought that there were moments of that I really loved and moments of that felt a little too goofy, and we're now bringing a character that shouldn't really be engaging in like a fantasy world into a fantasy world dynamic. So I was a little worried like what version of him was going to be popping up in a show like this.
And they almost bailed on that entirely.
Yeah.
Which is the right call.
Yeah.
He's so funny in Shang-Chi. He has some of the funniest lines. That's a weird horse is like hilarious. But yeah.
Like the Planet of the Apes bit. Yeah.
This doesn't, he's not referencing, I've been to another dimension. And I thought he's not referencing any of that. It's just now he's sober and back to wanting to act and he appreciates film. It's kind of
it's basically just used to show how he got out of prison, how it wasn't his fault, how he was basically like abducted and held prisoner by the Mandarin Wenwu. So I think like it works. And yeah, to your point, I think it kind of makes, if you now look at that as like, that was him in like a very, like he had been living alone, ostensibly, like in this kind of dungeon for however long after he was broken out. And before that, he had been in like a haze, of like drug and alcohol. And so you see
which
how
they make a big point of. I'm not just saying that because like they say 2 or 3 times, 3, 4 times. Like that was a different person. Even Trevor says it multiple times. Instead of kind of making a joke about it again or something, he's more like, yeah. Like again, I can't remember, but there were multiple interactions where someone's like, "Hey, what do I know you from? Don't I know you from this?" And he's like, "Well, I was in this and I was in this." And like, "Oh, and you were the Mandarin." And then there's a chance for him to be funny about it, and he never was in those moments. Well, he was like, "Look, I'm sober. I was on drugs, and
And one thing I really like, I kind of like, just because it whenever I see Iron Man 3. Which we've talked about, I like a lot in general, but his performance as both versions in that movie is so great. Like we talk about how funny he is and how well that reveal works. Yeah, it's a really great, like, kind of theatrical villain, and I like that there are a couple different moments in Wonder Man where people are like, I mean, the performance was great though, like where they give him props, but we were kind of worried about you. I like that. And also, like, the Iron Man 3 references are all over the place for this, because, like, on the one hand, you have just the inclusion of Trevor Slattery in general, but you also have, like, the first episode ending at the Chinese theater, which is a little nod.
And I think if for 1 second he talked in his Mandarin voice, right? Didn't we hear something like that? I thought I did somewhere.
Oh, well, he does speak in, like, his American accent. And when he's doing one of the line readings, but then also
the Chinese theater is perfect.
And the Doorman origin is like the Roxxon stuff, which is like a callback to Iron Man 3. And
I didn't know if it was going to be Spot from Into the Spider or Beyond the Spider-Verse.
I wondered that too,
because that's kind of what it looked like to me.
It is visualized that way.
And isn't it Roxxon in those movies that causes that problem?
Oh, no.
It's not?
No, it's Alchemex, I think.
You're right. I've just been playing Miles Morales live on stream, by the way. You can check out our
Which
YouTube.
Is Roxxon.
Which is Roxxon, and so I just got excited to see Roxxon, because
it also made me think of the second time in a row shouting out to Neil's Kyle Listen series, but it also made me think of his Cloak and Dagger episode, because I think that Roxxon is the kind of corporate boogeyman in that show too.
Okay, here's the deepest cut. In Loki season 1, okay, that is Roxxon on the sign when they go in the grocery store or whatever. Yeah,
the like massive like Costco type place. I think that there are like, and I think it's been referenced heavily in the like ABC shows like Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, like, I guess Agent Carter is canon and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not, or sort of not. But so I am curious, like, we've gotten all these little bits, and would be like, I'd be interested to see whether we get a really like front and center Roxxon role at some point, because they've clearly liked using that as their stand-in for like an evil corporation, your Spielberg villain.
Something totally random that made my brain so happy this last week. Here's my train of thought. You said Peggy, and then I was thinking Kyle Listen from Neil. The next episode I think is Agent Carter. I think that's coming out. And then I was thinking that Haley Atwell's been bitter of how easily her character was kind of cast aside in Multiverse of Madness. And then I was thinking about how apparently she's supposed to be in Doomsday a lot, like feature. And then I was thinking, do you think all this is all while you're talking, by the way? Then I was thinking, do you think she's going to actually be Agent Carter or Peggy is in Doomsday? And then I saw a quote this week, because I was thinking, who did her dirty? Well, I guess it was Sam Raimi was the person who decided to have her get chopped in half, and she's, from the Illuminati version, and she doesn't get to do much. And they asked Sam Raimi, do you have any problems with superhero movies currently? And he said, my only problem is that they don't give me more of them to direct. And that made me so happy.
Yeah.
They teed him up to bash superhero movies, and he exposed himself as, no, I just wish they would ask me more often. Like no shame about any pushback from Multiverse of Madness and that kind of answer. I love it.
Right.
Just like, I want more of them.
Well, and Have you seen the trailer for Send Help?
I haven't. I got a screener invite. I didn't go see Send Help, but this is why it's all coming up, because someone was talking to Sam Raimi because of that movie at the premiere or whatever.
And it's Rachel McAdams again.
Yeah.
Right. The stuff that I've read, which it's so early, these early reactions mean almost nothing, but
good buzz.
It does seem like people are having fun in the way you would want at a Sam. I think it's Sam Raimi's first R-rated movie in like 25 years or something.
Still.
And I think he's kind of doing his thing.
That was my most derailing train of thought, but that's where it came from. I kind of love that answer.
Also, just as an aside, like, I don't know. I don't love the superheroification of everybody. I don't love taking characters that are not supposed to be like superpowered and making them superpowered, which is like a thing that Marvel has done forever. So I just don't like.
Yeah, we don't need Captain Carter. Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah,
I don't think that's like a. I don't know that that's been the issue.
No doubt.
But anyway,
I would love her in the movie as Peggy or Agent Carter more than anything. But like,
taking
a serum and throwing a shield around, I feel like we've kind of outside of maybe an incursion cameo. There was a Captain Carter in this one. Great. That's
I just think it's way cooler, and you have the stakes are higher when you have people around that are vulnerable.
Yeah,
like in a way, and we get less and less of that as it.
It's also the Ned Leeds thing, where it's like, can Ned just be Peter's friend? Do I need Ned to all of a sudden become the Hobgoblin or whatever it was?
Right. Yeah. There's like in the Spider-Man or in the comics in general right now. Like Mary Jane is currently Venom.
Oh, it's like every person he meets,
and it's just like, man, was literally anyone? Was there a single person
who was
out
like,
there that was like, yes, like that was the thing I wanted?
Finally. Okay, now that you're on this topic, I swear this is the end of my tangent. I'm rewatching the whole MCU. I have a hill I have to die on, and this is going to trigger some Spider-Man fans. Okay, I don't understand. I think Spider-Man should always have webs that naturally come out of him, and it bothers me that he has to make web shooters. And I know that there's some people that are the exact opposite, right? That the true web shooter truthers. But think about this for 1 second, please. Just objectively, remove comic background. If you're just a guy who gets bit by a spider and you wake up and all of a sudden you have all these spider-like abilities and powers, if the webs don't come out from you, but you're a genius in making tech, why not then would you not, if you're Peter, spend your time and effort using a different method of traversal? Like, if you're a tech genius, why not eventually get into an Iron Man suit? Like, why would Tony Stark build him, like lean into his web powers when you're making it anyways? So if you're just making a device, why not make a giant laser? Or why not get into an Iron Man suit? Why does it have to be webs other than, it's Spider-Man and that's the gimmick?
Right.
That wouldn't be the most effective way for him to fight if he's just a super powered, can run up walls. Like, I can get around New York even faster in an Iron Man suit than if I'm swinging. But if it comes out of him naturally, then it's like, you're leaning into, he's literally partially a spider. And so obviously that's how he's going to get around. In fact, throwing him in a suit or something takes away his natural ability to be a spider. But if he's making the tech, then make different tech. Or eventually Peter would start progressing to a better tech. Eventually the webs would be like, I don't know, you would keep improving on it because it's just tech. But again, if it comes out of you like Tobey Maguire, then it's like, that also makes more sense that he then has like an existential crisis and it can't come out of him. That's more viable to me. Anyways, tangent.
I do think that they do a good job in Homecoming, though. It's like he starts off not having access to something where he could build like a couple things. One, I don't think he has the ability at the start to build something where he could have like thrusters the way that like Riri does.
Right.
Two, I don't want him to necessarily I don't always love Peter Parker being a Tony Stark level genius, that was like.
But hold on, for the people who like Spider-Man or Peter Parker to make his own webs, he is like a tech genius, right? That's part of it.
He is, but like I think the way that it started with Stan Lee, and again, it's a very kind of convenient, like, oh, and I can make these webs, and here are my web shooters, and they work this way. Like he can do things every now and then that are very convenient. Like, I'm going to build a little device that does this, but it's always like little gadgets. It's never like at the start
reinventing, like modern warfare.
Right. Yeah, he's not doing something that you would be like, oh my gosh, this guy could have a job like at any massive tech firm ever. Like, whereas like as it's gone on further, you have more conversations like you have in No Way Home, where Norman Osborn's like, oh my gosh, like you are, one of the most gifted, have like one of the best brains I've ever encountered, kind of a thing. Where
right.
I don't know. I think
it does increase the practical issues though too, like the questions. Meaning, how much web stuff can he store in there? Like when he's fighting in No Way Home, it's just that much web fluid can sit in this little cartridge on his wrist. Again, if it comes out of him, then it's perfect.
He does, yeah, that's true. But he does have like multiple cartridges. Like
pops one out and replaces it. And
I do think like it makes sense in the MCU because he that's what he can use to get around. And
to my point about getting an Iron Man suit, that was what the MCU did. Basically, by Infinity War, he has like an Iron Spider suit. Like they are improving the tech for him by Infinity War. But then that is the natural progression if you are a tech guy.
Yeah, but then his instant, like at that point, he's already kind of started learning to move using his webbing, and then Tony is impressed with that, and so kind of like rather than just giving him an Iron Man suit, leans into that, and then now that he like doesn't have access to that tech anymore, it makes the most sense. But I hear you. I think
it's also a little bit strange that he got. Waking up from the spider bite and getting super strength, that's not that strange, but he can still climb on walls. And remember in the original Tobey Maguire one, they even show like the hair raise up on his fingers to where it's almost like grippier. Mm-hmm. So why did he get a couple of those things, but then not the webs themselves?
Yeah. No, it is it's an interesting call that they made at the outset.
This is so
my
off
last comment
topic.
there.
I'm sorry.
I know. My last comment there,
I'm
though,
triggering
is
people. I know this.
Ultimate Spider-Man, the original Ultimate Spider-Man, I think did that the best. And I can't remember, the Andrew Garfield movies may have done something similar, but you see him like it's like a 7-issue stretched out version of the origin story. And I think like in issue 1 or 2, you see that he's got in his like basement at his house this massive blackboard that's like a formula his dad had been working on for some like crazy adhesive and had left like unfinished. And it's kind of been this thing that he has always like challenged himself to see if he could like finish this thing that his dad had left undone. And so then his like he gets the spider powers and it like clicks that he can like use, like he finishes this thing and then he uses it in this way. So it's not like a formula for webbing, but it's like they kind of make it feel like a natural thing. But I do think, to your point, it is funny that he gets these powers. And I guess he's like, well, it was a spider that bit me, so I guess I should use webs.
Lean into it. Yeah. Okay, I can wrap this up
Wonder
real
Man.
quick. Yeah, Wonder Man, which I loved. A couple other references I jotted down.
Wait. Can I transition us back to Wonder Man, though?
Please.
Because I'm not going to get this opportunity again. That was like my last note here on Wonder Man was all we've had is one sample size of a Cretin MCU movie, and it was Shang-Chi, which I think is really tough to get a read on in terms of like, it's tough to map that onto other things because it's almost 2 movies tonally.
Right.
And so I wasn't nervous about Cretin's Spider-Man, but I just was kind of unsure what to expect. But the episodes of this series that he directed made me feel like even more confident about Brand New Day because I think that like that's the vibe that I want for this movie specifically is like kind of more of the grounded, character-driven stuff that you get in parts of like the Raimi trilogy. And so that was my only other, like, there's my Spider-Man connection.
I'll say on that front, what helps with the grounded thing, if you go back all the way to our Eternals episode, I've been kind of circling Eternals, and ever since then, I just love the more on location versus set type thing that they seem to be doing now. Marvel seems to have made a course correction. There's a whole, you bring up Shang-Chi, there's a whole era of movies from 2020, 21, 22, maybe even 23, where they all have a little bit of a, like cinematography wise, they have a little bit of a gloss on them. Like even the bus fight in Shang-Chi is very like soundstage feeling. It's choreographed
like
amazingly well.
Cool.
Exactly. But the visual of it, I don't buy for a second that they went into a bus and filmed this. Now what's crazy is they did actually build a bus on like robotic arms that would shake and go up and down. So they did that kind of like Nolan did with Inception in the hallway rotating. You know, they actually rotated a hallway. So it was close. But my point is, there is a little bit for me as a viewer, this intangible effect on how it looks. And I said kind of Eternals is the movie where when they go on the beach, you're like, oh, that looks like they went to the Canary Islands, which they did because we talked to Liam McHugh at the time, and filmed it there. And I just really appreciate that because there's a tangible realism that I just think is missing in that era. Even in No Way Home is missing. One of the best movies they ever made. And on a rewatch, Ragnarok, you always used to say that. I get that a little bit. It is a little sound stagey. Like here's the set, now it's fight on it, and then move to this one, which obviously that is harder because you can't go to those actual locations. I get it. But even here, dude, I feel like it is kind of continuing this trend that Thunderbolts had, even Ironheart had a little bit. Daredevil has a little bit. Fantastic Four. It seems like they are shifting. Fantastic Four is a little bit different because they built a set. It's just massive. They built a literal town to do it. So that is still a set, but it's, you know, half built. But this just feels to me, and obviously there's no excuse for it not to, more tangible. Like when they're walking around, it does feel like they're walking around LA to me. When they're in the car, it doesn't feel like they're sitting in a green screen in a car. It feels like they took the car up to that hill. I could be wrong on that, but there's just a tangible feel to the whole thing that Destin Daniel Cretton is doing now. I hope that's what Spider-Man feels like. And I think it's going to.
It seems like it, because I like everything I've seen, both in terms of like the set photos and stuff, but also like the statements that Kevin Feige's made. Like,
darker tone,
they seem to know, and it just in general makes me happy because they seem to know exactly what people want. Now, whether they're able to deliver on that effectively is always another question. But like, I think the fact that that's what they are going for, and the fact that we can see Cretton doing that really well here, albeit on a very different scale, is encouraging to me. And it's encouraging because I would love to see, like, I think that these are the kinds of the ground, not just grounded in terms of like on set stuff, but even story wise, like a little smaller scale approach to kind of the like, I think I even saw another quote from Feige the other day talking about how he's not going to be dealing with Avengers level threats. Like that's not the focus at this point, which I think is great.
And just visually, I think Thunderbolts is the high bar for that so far. The trailers or the teasers we saw for Doomsday look like they're continuing that trend. And obviously, like that's what I love so much about those Doomsday trailers is they have to be more CGI heavy and fantastical just due to the nature of the subject, right? It's going to be more CGI than there is in Wonder Man, obviously. But it still seems like they're finding this line of the cinematography still feeling tangible and natural, even though we're going to do something super fantastical. Compare that to Shang-Chi. And again, Marvel has a little bit of an out here if you look at history. Just because when they launched TV and the budgets for the shows and stuff was right when COVID was happening. So there were actor strikes, writer strikes, COVID shutdowns, and it fundamentally changed how they made the projects for 3 years, and it wasn't even their fault. At the time, you couldn't even make some projects legally unless you did it this way. So there's an era there that they can't help. But
Yeah,
now
like-
it feels like, Falcon Winter Soldier got shut down, I think, mid-filming. They were like middle of it and then had to redo it. So they have an out. And it feels like now, to your point, they're taking all the right steps, to me. This is how it feels like it's going. Okay, two final things. One, I'll blaze through. There are some fun Easter eggs. Like there was a Rogers the Musical sign, which I loved. One of the friends says, "Oh, I love Captain America," which is kind of interesting. And I also found it interesting because I was wondering which one's he referencing. I think for the first time, we're talking about Sam Wilson now.
Because he says, like, but isn't he just a regular guy that can throw a shield?
Right. But back in the day, I think when people said that, it was meaning Steve Rogers, and that was not, you would never have said that, the regular guy thing. But now they're talking about Sam, which is great. That's the kind of connectivity I like without it feeling, again, a ton of the pressure. And then the last thing I'll say is I love how they're handling Simon's powers right now. I don't really understand what his powers are. I don't fully understand how he got them. I know he was in a house fire that didn't burn him up somehow. Yeah. I understand that part. And I understand that they seemingly are triggered by anxiety or anger, almost like the Hulk, kind of. It's when he's really anxious, he's got to take deep breaths to not have it happen. But I feel like it's a well-paced out exploration of that. And I am excited to see how his superhero powers or superhuman powers influence him as an actor in the next 4 episodes. But also, does it set him up as a like superhero player? Like, could he eventually be an Avenger with these powers? Or is it like She-Hulk in that the powers are so secondary? I just want to, I can help people, great, but I want to be an actor. I don't want an actor. I don't want to be an Avenger, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we keep you on the sideline as, hey, this guy's got some powers and maybe he'll help occasionally with things, but he's trying to be an actor. And so again, I'm excited to see that reveal is my point.
Yeah. I mean, I am too, because it's funny looking at this as a cretin project
Project. Is a frockin' pod.
I never should it be Daniel Cretton? Should it be like should I be saying Daniel Cretton every time? Is that like the hyphenated last name?
Or is Daniel the middle name you're saying? Destin?
Yeah.
Destin.
No, I think Cretton's right. There's no hyphen. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Come on.
Let's go. I've got to be right here. Anyway.
Here we go.
3,
2, 1. Here we go.
It is funny that this is coming from him because he was originally attached to Kang Dynasty.
Right.
And it makes me think how much there was a moment there, even in the conversation we had with Loveness when he was writing Dynasty, where Marvel was really mining a particular era of Avengers comics, and Wonder Man was very much at the forefront of the Avengers in that era. So I am curious how much he would have tied in versus how much he will now, because I think it is sort of a strange coincidence. It's also interesting that this is coming out and has been in development at the same time that they're kind of bringing back Vision more fully and delving into the Ultron stuff again, because Wonder Man's character, like his comics biography, is very tied up in Vision. Like he's the one whose mental, whatever they call it, like his brain waves or something are the kind of base for Vision, in the same way that like Jarvis was in Age of Ultron.
They like put some of Wonder Man into creating Vision.
Yeah, like it's like Wonder Man dies at one point in the comics, but he doesn't really die. But they think he has died, and Hank Pym like records his brain pattern somehow in a way that, like, I love Stan Lee science in the 60s, where he's just like, yeah, we just recorded his brain pattern, so now we just have it just in case.
So what? He's creative. Fallout does the same thing. I'm watching the show and it's like, oh, this guy is alive and as a brain in a tube and, can talk still because he programmed his mind before he lost. And, these people don't die for 200 years because they got some radioactive thing. But, so
there's something nice about just being like as much as I love the Nolan approach of like, I'm going to figure out how to make this the most
hyper
realistic version of a fantasy thing. At some points, it's like, okay, sure. Like,
Yeah.
That's a thing we can do. All that to say, I do think that there is room for him and precedent for him to be a major Avenger, because in the comics, I think if we're looking at like power levels, he is a character that goes toe to toe with like Thor and the Hulk.
Oh, wow. We're talking top tier.
I don't know if they're going to do that here. He's also a character that like kind of has a little bit of the Captain Marvel problem, where he can become so powerful that it almost doesn't really mean anything. Like, he's invincible. Sure. He can beat everybody. There are like no real like clear weaknesses or sources of his power. And so they wind up just having to like kill him off.
Yeah, we don't need more of those.
Yeah, so I don't think that we're getting that here, which is probably another good call. But it is like a fair question, because and again, I think if Loveness were still writing a King Dynasty, I wonder if, because he told me in that interview about some of his favorite comics, and if he was driven by those, I think we probably would have gotten more Wonder Man. But
go check that interview out. We still love that interview. That's all I had. Do you have anything else?
No. I'm excited to get through the end of it. I think in general, we'll have a lot more like Wonder Man specific things to take away after we've seen the full series. But it is encouraging that, you know, I like our review is up if you happen to have not seen it yet, or you're like stopping right here. Greg wrote a great blurb on our newsletter that's a spoiler-free review.
And I posted some stuff on social media if you want my thoughts.
Oh, yes. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see kind of how it actually ends and what it sets up and where it leaves Damage Control and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. Honestly, it's been killing me that we waited this long to record this. We saw, Annika and I watched the first episodes probably 8 days ago, but you and I have not been able to sync up, so it's killing me. I want to watch 5 through 8. So episodes 5 through 8 will be covered next week on this podcast. And I'm going to circle like 3 ways you can help support us as we're starting the new year. We're looking to grow the show. There's all kinds of stuff we've been talking about doing and we've been doing over these last few months, but just to kind of circle the wagons here, I would say you can really support us by signing up for Friends from Work Plus. It's a Patreon where you get some bonus episodes, you get ad-free episodes, a few perks and stuff like that. But most importantly, it just kind of supports us and helps us do this main feed show. You can find that on our website, the ffwpodcast.com. But if you're new to this podcast and you think, hey, I like what those guys are doing, check that out. It might be a good way to financially support us and help us keep going. That's the first thing. The second thing is, let's also grow the newsletter this year. Greg does such a good job with it, and it's free. There's no cost to you. But if you just want to stay in touch, again, only like once a week. So it's not going to blow your inbox up. On a Sunday, you're going to get a Sunday newsletter that sums up the film world and the Marvel world for you. Really well done. And he's a good writer with that stuff. So that's free as well. Go to the ffwpodcast.com. You can sign up there. So that's the second thing I want to tell you about. And the third thing is selfish. We have a YouTube channel that all these podcast episodes come out visually. And then on top of that, I've been making these screen recaps where I put together like an 8-minute video of everything you need to know. I'll probably do one for Daredevil Born Again. Everything you need to know about Daredevil Born Again before you see season 2, in case you need to be caught up. And Robbie contributes with the script on that. And I feel like those turned out really well. So there's all these different videos you can find on there. But most recently, I've really dialed up my live streaming setup. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, professionally live streaming as far as I got it up and running. I'm a YouTube partner and would love to just hang out. And it's a really fun place for this podcast to be the exact same, but like an extension of it, just with video games. Like, I'll pause the game and talk about Wonder Man if you want to. It's just a fun place to hang out. And I'm doing that on YouTube. I'm trying to work out that I also do it on TikTok. So either one you can follow and hang out and chat. We can talk about life. We can talk about anything you want while I'm playing video games, and it's kind of fun. And I've been playing all of the Spider-Man games again. I beat all of Spider-Man PS5. I did all of the DLC to 100%. I'm now halfway through Miles. Then I'm going to do Spider-Man 2. And in that, I'm mixing in some Warzone. And I'm even tempted to mix in like a I'm a studio producer. I'm a music producer. I'm going to mix in like a behind the scenes of a song, and I can show you my screen
nice.
of Pro Tools, and we can talk about music too. So just fun way to hang, and I'm down to talk. That's on YouTube, the FFW podcast. Okay, that's the ways you can support this podcast and make 2026 a great year for us. Thank you so much. If you just listen to this podcast and tell your friends, hey, I really enjoy Friends from Work, that's the most important support, is that this podcast has listeners and that you guys are out there hearing what we're talking about. We love you guys for all of that. We are so grateful. Oh my gosh, 7 years in, we're so grateful that people listen to this. It's so freaking cool.
Also,
yeah, go ahead. I was wrapping up right there. Go ahead.
I know. Right before we go, and I'm not going to make you do a whole wrap up again, but
I'll just redo it.
Just because of when we're recording this, man, we were just talking about, especially with Wonder Man, it's so like industry focused. And you and I were just talking about the year in movies with the Friendlies. Crazy, the Sinners nominations.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Breaking the record for most ever Oscar nominations.
And I'm on record last week being like, it's a good movie. But so,
no, I mean,
but I also think there wasn't much competition this year. I'm serious.
I mean, yeah, I think, although there are a lot of movies I'm excited to watch, like the Chloe Zhao Hamnet movie has gotten a lot of buzz.
Yep, haven't seen that
Max
one.
Richter score, which makes me excited. So I think, and Marty Supreme, I still need to see. But anyway, it makes me happy for Ryan Coogler as an MCU fan. But also, like, I just love that, like the whole narrative around that movie when it came out was that it was just going to be like too top heavy and they were never going to make their money back. And it wasn't like it was too risky. And I just love that it's now gone to this, to where however much it wins, it's already made history for the number of nominations. And I'm calling now that it gets Best Original Screenplay. That's my prediction.
I saw, by the way, that Marty Scorsese is 0 for his last 20. That his last 2 movies were nominated 10 times and he didn't win any of them. So it's possible, I guess, you don't win any of them, even though you're nominated for all of them. 0 for his last 20.
When I think the reason like Return to the King was unique in that it won every Oscar it was nominated for, which I think was 11. Like I think Titanic was actually nominated for more, but didn't win them all.
Okay. And closing thought, I do think you're right to call that out. I think Ryan Coogler is like the perfect, Ryan Coogler is like the dream Marvel Studios thing. You know, so many people now, because of the success of the Avengers, look at the actors and go, wow, they're the highest grossing, most A-list actors we have. But we've talked about, at the time, that wasn't always the case. Like Scarlett wasn't who she is now. Robert had a background that was different. He had acted and been very successful and then kind of had a falling off. And then this Iron Man was a rebirth for him.
Oh, yeah.
And so I love that being the core of the MCU, finding people who are talented, but then watching them grow. And so Coogler, for me, is just another one of those. Like Black Panther really put him on the map, but it didn't just stop there. It's not the Seinfeld thing, like he then went on and he's not only... So I just love that he's one of ours. Like he's making Black Panther 3, but also nominated for 16 awards in the movies that he's not doing. That's even cooler to me than just handpicking. He wrote and directed. Right. Yeah. Like if right now they get Nolan or Spielberg to do a movie, it would be awesome. I'd be so excited. But you wouldn't feel like, oh, they're like in the team, like they're on the team, they're going to be in for 10 years making things. Whereas like Coogler feels like one of ours.
And when you listen to interviews with him, especially like, back when he was doing the first Black Panther, I mean, he talks about how he was an Iron Man fan, like a fan of that movie from the get-go, when he saw it in college or whatever. And so it's like, he, I think, has a legitimate love for the source material. And I think he likes the other movies, he likes the comics. And my last thing on that is I realized it came out whenever I was in trial, and I saw your like reaction to the last Doomsday trailer that you did come up, and I realized I still hadn't seen it. And I had heard everything about it being like the like Wakanda based one, and I hadn't even made the connection that of course, like Black Panther and Namor are both characters that are largely associated with the Fantastic Four. Black Panther first appeared in the Fantastic Four comics.
Did you listen to my episode?
No, I need to listen to your episode. Okay, I just watched the trailer.
It's only 10 minutes long or 15 minutes long. Please do it.
I like
because if you were here, I asked questions in that episode that we don't have time for right now that I actually like was asking the audience about too. And I would like to ask you,
nice.
but again, I gotta go, and we can't do this forever.
Oh, no, we can come back and do. We'll do like a part 2 together.
Okay, final thing on the cooler thing.
Yeah,
I also am happy for Nia DaCosta because she just made 28 Days Later Bone Temple. I have never seen any of the 28 Days, so I don't know anything about it, but I saw a bunch of people hyping it up. And so she's
really
been in the media
excited to see
rounds, and I'm proud of her that she crushed that movie, and she has said some good things about the whole thing. Because obviously the Marvels she directed the Marvels, and it was a very contested thing. You and I actually liked the Marvels, but it was very like hot button at the time, didn't do well in the box office. But when pressed, she said the right thing. She was like, man, you know, everyone was trying really hard in that film. I have nothing but appreciation for the actors. Like, it didn't work out. And then someone later said like, oh, you must hate Kevin Feige. And she said like, the funny part about this whole thing is I effing love Kevin Feige. Like, and she says, I still talk to him. I visited the set of Doomsday, and I'm still talking with him all the time. So like, she had a chance again to be like, yeah, man, screw them, how that went down. And she didn't bash the actors. She didn't bash Kevin. And she was like, look, it is what it is. Like, you know, we were all trying really hard. And so anyways, I also good for her. That's all. Okay, we got to go.
No, it makes me happy too. The original 28 Days Later is so great. Candace and I both like 28 Years Later. I've been really excited to see this, if only because it's Ralph Fiennes and Cillian Murphy. A Nia DaCosta directed, Alex Garland written movie feels like it's tailor-made for me, although I have heard that it's pretty disturbing, which tracks.
And for the most part, you and I can go back and check it. Or sorry, listeners can check what you and I said. For the most part, we felt like Nia actually did a good job with the script in the Marvels. Like the script was mainly to blame for the most part, and that the direction was actually really quite good, I thought, throughout for the most part. A few edits and stuff, but like she captured the vibe and it's breezy and fun. Okay, we gotta go. I love talking to you, man. I love talking to you. I love talking to our audience. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time here on Friends from Work.